A very good afternoon to you. This is, of course, the Real Talk with me, Jamie, right here on Relax Radio. Hope you are having yourself an amazing, amazing day so far. We've got a lot of amazing content coming your way. We have a lot of very interesting things to talk about. So make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. And listen, if you want to say hi to us or if you want to get in touch with us, let us know what's on your mind, whatever it is. All you got to do is make sure that you connect with us on our social media. That is Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. You could just say hi to us, or on one of the conversations that we're having, you could share your opinion. We'd love to hear from you. So make sure that you do connect with us and let us know what's going on. With that being said, also if you wanna make life so much easier for you and take us with you wherever that you go. All you got to do is make sure that you download our app on your phone. It is available absolutely free of charge. So make sure that you do download our app and, make life easy just for you and for us to get through to you as well. With that being said, we have a lot of serious conversation, a real conversation that is coming up. But before that, I wanted to talk about something that is kind of going to be controversial just because it's very different to the majority perspective, okay, in general. Now, one thing that everybody wants in life is positivity. I myself, we've been talking about how essential it is to be positive in your day to day life. And one thing that I do want to talk about is toxic positivity. Now I know you're probably going, "Oh, but how can positivity be toxic? How can positivity in itself be a negative thing?" Now, there is something called a tragic optimism, which is what I want to talk about. I want to give you an idea of what it can be or what it is so that you have a better understanding of what you can do in order to make your life better. Now, the thing about toxic positivity, we'll get to that in a bit, but the thing about toxic positivity is that it can actually have a negative impact, not just on yourself, but how you behave, how you intake your day to day lives. And, it can have a impact on every single thing you do, and also how you interact with other people, because anything can be toxic at the end of the day. And that is why I thought it's a very important to talk about, or rather have this difficult conversation, which is toxic positivity or tragic optimism. Now, okay, I feel like especially with last year, obviously we've had some crazy times with COVID-19, and amid these grim times, putting on the biggest smile may seem like the best coping mechanism. And a lot of people say, "Oh, put on a big smile, smile and your worries will go away." However, this approach can actually be quite harmful. But luckily, there is another way through, and I want you to know about it, which is why I decided to have this conversation. Now, over the last year, as the pandemic morphed from something that it was extremely horrifying and terrifying to something that was inconvenient to something that was a long term life altering event, our coping mechanisms have had to adapt and evolve. Now, all of us, we've had our own coping mechanisms. For some of us, it was TikTok. For some of us, it was Netflix. Whatever it was, we all had different ways to cope with the difficult times that we were facing, especially last year. Now, the thing is, um, there have been different ways, like I told you, that we've approached time spent in isolation. For some, positivity was essential to coping with the crisis. And yes, we've been talking about how essential it is to be positive in order to deal with these negative, grim times. Many have relished a chance to slow down and reevaluate and felt grateful to still have a job or kept the good things in perspective. Now, of course, staying upbeat and expressing gratitude and being happy are hardly adverse practices, but this unrelenting optimism, which is also known as toxic positivity in today's day and age, paints this whole negative emotion as a failure and weakness. Now, do you see where I'm getting with this? Okay. Again, I'm going to tell you that you need to listen up to this conversation, just because you can't take bits and pieces of the conversation we're going to have, because then you are going to get the wrong idea. But what I'm trying to say is, with this whole idea that everybody should be happy regardless of what's happening, just fake it till you make it, fake that smile, that kind of has given out this toxic energy or this toxic positive energy that is going around. And with that, it has painted this negative image of emotions such as grief or whatever as a failure or weakness. Now, that is definitely something that we do not want in our society, because, like I've told you before, being positive is absolutely essential in our lives. but also, grief and heartache, and all of that is also essential for you to grow as a human being. And as opposed to masking it with positivity, and as opposed to ignoring your grief, ignoring whatever you're feeling inside, masking it with happiness isn't essentially going to do anything. It's actually going to impact you adversely, which is why I wanted to talk about this. Okay. Now, failing to acknowledge hardships can actually have a detrimental effect on your mental health. Persistent reminders to reflect on how good you have it in the midst of strife and struggle don't make sadness, fear, or anxiety. Instead, I feel like suppressing negative emotions can actually make you feel worse. That's like, okay, for example, let me compare this to a real life scenario. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, see, if you do have something that's troubling you in your life, say you are getting harassed at work or something of that sort, but if you decide that the best way to cope with it is to put on a smile and absolutely ignore the fact that there is a problem, your problem isn't going to get solved. Right. And that essentially is the crux of a toxic positivity. And that is what I want to talk about today, because in the midst of all this hype that is going on in the media, in our social media platforms, everybody's like, oh, be positive, be positive. But at certain times, we tend to ignore actual questions and actual problems that we're dealing with, and we tend to mask it with this false sense of happiness and hope and positivity. Now, that's see that can actually be very harming to you as a person, and tragic optimism in itself. It says that there is hope and meaning to be found in life, while also acknowledging the existence of loss and pain and suffering. So that is what I want to remind you. I want to remind you that it's absolutely essential to be positive, because I myself, especially during our shows, we talk about the necessity of being positive and how you need to get rid of all of that negative energy. But that doesn't mean you don't acknowledge the existence of loss and pain and suffering and heartache, because you are never going to move forward from the pain or the heartache or whatever it is if you don't acknowledge it. Which is why I want to give you this whole different perspective of positivity. And I'm telling you that yes, it's absolutely essential to be positive, but don't misinterpret it with masking your actual emotions. So that is what I did want to talk about. And moving on, a lot of people have spoken up about this, just because it is a problem that we're facing in today's society. So I will be talking about this. I want to help you to find meaning amid chaos. Okay, I want to help you find a happiness, that how you can grow actually from your stress and from your negative situations. I want to let you know that it's okay to feel bad sometimes. It's okay to feel anxious. Well, welcome to the human club. It's all a part of being a human being. It's all a part of growing up. It's all part of, just experiencing all emotions out there. So I'm telling you again, it's absolutely okay if you're not having the best of days. It's fine. It's just that I want you to acknowledge it and not, just push it under the carpet and absolutely ignore that there is a problem in your life or with the people that you're hanging out with or whatever it is. Now, we'll be talking about this a lot more. I'll be giving you tips on to see if you can be you can be toxically positive, and you can or you coerce that toxic positivity to other people. Those are a few questions and few things that I'll be talking about. So all you got to do is make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio.